So I'm going to start out the same way with Bourbon and Cedar. And all I'm doing is I'm hitting that stim. They're coming on over. I'm marking when they come over and rewarding. Then we're repeating that. Okay, and then I'm going to move on to doing a sit with leash pressure and stim. So the way that works is just like every position. When we're conditioning the e-collar, we're going to turn that stim on. We're going to get the dog to do the behavior. So with the leash pressure sit, that means that we're going to use the leash. So stim comes on, leash comes up, and I'll show you right here. So stim comes on, leash comes up, she sits, and they both go away. So I let go of the stim once her butt hits the ground. So stim on, leash up, butt hits the ground, it goes away, right? I also mark, of course, to tell her, yes, that's right. And with the marking and the leash and the stim going away all at the same time, she starts to really understand that, okay, that stim kind of means the same thing as the sit. And so there's no audio to this video actually, because this is the fourth time I've tried to edit and voice over this video, and it got corrupted somehow, and so I had to extract the audio and use an old video that I was editing. So just doing recall here. So I'm saying the come command now with the stim. So that stim comes on, I say come, she comes over, I release the stim, right? I mark, reward. So we're essentially going to condition her with the e-collar with kind of 3 different communications. So that's the leash, that's verbal, right? And the stim. So I just tried like one down. I'm only going to do one of them. At least one verbal down. So that was a verbal down. And then I will practice some leash pressure downs after I walk around for a little bit. What I'm trying to do is actually get her to not pay attention to me. And so I call her over when she doesn't. So I kind of like nonchalant kind of walk around like we're going on a walk, right? Like she's off leash, because I'm not holding the leash or anything. So it's a good way to kind of mimic that. So here we're going to do the leash pressure down. So stim comes on, leash pressure down, she goes down, and they both go away. Mark and reward. And so I'm going to take a little pause after I do it and feed her again there, so that she can really start to understand too that when that stim comes on, it means to stay in that position also, right? So if we're giving her a command with the stim, it's going to mean the same thing as leash pressure, right? As long as it's paired and she understands what command she's supposed to be doing. One thing with the leash pressure that I just want to mention is that a lot of people give leash pressure too strongly. So too much leash pressure when they're trying to communicate with the leash. That can be aversive. And so we want to make leash pressure not aversive, but kind of a neutral, just communication tool when we're trying to communicate with it. So just subtly pull on it with that prong collar. The dog will feel that pressure. And a smart dog like her will respond to it even before they feel the pressure. So when you're giving leash pressure, be very subtle with it to communicate. especially with cedar. Cedar is even more sensitive at times. So this is the place command now that I'm doing with the e-collar. To begin with, I was just charging the place command, meaning that I'm making it enthusiastic for her, like doing it over and over and over really quickly. And when I was doing that, I wasn't making her lay down. Okay, now I'm making her lay down. So what that means is, to begin with, I was turning on that stim. I would tell her place. She would go to the place. She would touch the place. That stim would go away once she touched it, right? And then I would mark. She would jump off, right? I would mark with a yes. She'd jump off excitedly, and we just do that over and over, like 5 times, right? Once she's like, okay, this is fun. Then I'm going to now follow through with her laying down when she's on the place. So that means that the stim comes on, I tell her place, and then I hold the stim until she lays down. So there I didn't actually, right? So I didn't hold it down. So I'm trying to just charge it again. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing heel. So what I was doing is actually trying to do heel, and she wasn't doing it. She was going to place because we were just doing place over and over and over. And I started to try to do heel. She was like, "Oh no, we were doing this, right?" She wasn't really thinking about what I was asking her, but rather just kind of working on her impulses. And so I just followed through with the heel, right? I'm not going to reward her for doing the place, even though I didn't ask her. It's not how it works. And so I wanted her to really start to listen to what I'm saying rather than just doing what she thinks she's gonna get a reward for. Right. So really starting to have her critically think. Cedar, we're gonna do the same thing we did with bourbon. Maybe a little bit different order at times, but cedar does really well at those low levels. So I'm just saying right here that like cedar is going to be at a level 1, whereas we were using level 4 for bourbon. And the level is going to change depending on the environment. So really keep that in mind. If they're not responding, or if that even maybe they even still are responding and they're not doing it fast enough, or they can't leave certain distractions, you got to turn it up a little bit. So a couple levels each time if you need to. So just a stim come. I'm using the verbal come here. So I switched from saying nothing to actually saying come. Now I'm just trying to get her to ignore me. Now we're going to practice some sits with leash pressure, just like we do with bourbon. So stim comes on, leash pressure up, she sits, and then they both go away as I mark at the same time. Stim, leash pressure, mark, feed, yeah. And watch her body language. Oh, stim goes back on, leash pressure. See how she's kind of struggling here? So I'm just going to follow through. And that's good that she struggles, because then she starts to really figure out what I'm asking. Because she was like, oh, wait, I can just pop up. Actually, maybe. And when she did, I was like, nah, you got to do that again. And so she figured it out after a couple times, doing it incorrectly. She's like, oh, okay, this is. So now I'm doing a little bit of sit, verbal sit with the stim. So stim comes on, I tell her to sit. and some leash pressure down. So stim comes on, leash pressure goes down. And they both go away, right? When she goes down, and she gets rewarded. So mark and reward. And you see that how I like kind of stepped towards her and then released her. So I step towards her real fast, and then I say break, and I move away from her. So I step towards her because I want her to get used to only being released when I move towards her, right? When I'm close to her. If I move away from her and release her, she's going to get used to that and might anticipate that and might release herself or be released. She thinks she's supposed to be released when she's not, right? Because she's used to us going away and releasing her. But if she always sees us come towards her to release her, she'll be more likely to stay there and wait for us to come towards her. I also like to a lot of times feed them when I come towards them. So I come towards them, feed them, and then release them. And so they actually get used to waiting for that food to come to them before they're released. So now just a little recall again with that verbal come and hitting that stim first. She did really well.